Hello everyone, my name is Blake Alexander.
And my name is Chase Carter.
And this is the Blake and Chase Show. Alright, on today's episode, we've got our Hot Topics. This is the second Hot Topics episode we've done, and this time we've got equally interesting subjects that vary a broad range of ridiculousness. Starting with Florida, Jaws in real life. Now Chase, we have both seen the movie Jaws before. Right? It was the old man and the scientist guy on the boat. They were hunting for that old great white that was terrorizing that city. I don't know, it was on the beach somewhere. It turns out it happens in real life too. In two separate shark attacks on Friday at Walton County beaches in Florida, 3 people were injured within 90 minutes. The incidents occurred 4 miles apart, leaving 2 individuals in critical condition and 1 in stable condition. Now, who were those individuals? The first attack involved a 45-year-old woman who lost her arm and suffered severe injuries, while the second attack involved 2 teenage girls, one of whom was hospitalized. The beach was closed following the attacks, and authorities are investigating the incidents to determine if the same shark was responsible. Now, why are the sharks even attacking in the first place? Supposedly, small fish are traveling in schools near the shore this time of year, which might have been a contributing factor in Friday's attacks. This comes from the Bay County Sheriff's Office. Now, another big topic has to do with cricket. Now, me and Chase aren't as enveloped in the sporting world, but recently there's been some stories going around that have caught our attention. And this is because of a match that the United States' official cricket team has beat Pakistan, right, for the first time. It's historic at the 2020 World Cup, which is being held in New York, Texas, Florida, and a few other venues dotted around the Caribbean. And the big thing about all this is that the recent coverage is, the hope is that it will spark an interest in cricket across the board for people that may not be as familiar with it, because it is very much one of those big international sports, just like soccer. But Chase, what I think our audience would probably get more value out of is knowing where cricket came from and why Pakistan and India, these two countries are very much the forefront of the news right now. Why are they so passionate about it? What's the history there?
Cricket originated in jolly old England in the late 16th century. Initially played as a children's game in the southeastern counties, by the early 17th century it evolved into an adult pastime, with the first recorded match occurring in 1611. The sport claimed popularity among the English aristocracy in the 18th century, leading to the establishment of the Marylebone Cricket Club, or MCC, in 1787, which codified the laws of cricket. The British Empire's expansion in the 19th century facilitated cricket's spread to its colonies, including India, where it was embraced and integrated into the local culture. The partition of British India...
No, wait.
Bother.
Now, hold on real quick. Didn't Britain partition a hard drive, and that's how India and Pakistan got started? What? That's how I thought it happened.
Gandhi is very disappointing.
Well, how did it actually happen then? The partition of Britain in 1947.
Okay, so
Britain took a hard drive, they partitioned it, and said, hey, you will be for India, you will be for Pakistan. Am I right or wrong?
In 1947, after Mahatma Gandhi won independence for British India, there was a massive problem that arose, and there was one side of India that was Muslim, while the rest of the country was Hindu. So, the people and Britain decided to partition British India into 2 separate countries, Pakistan and India, and also Bangladesh, but we don't really talk about that.
Wait, what happened in Bangladesh?
Bangladesh was actually part of Pakistan, but they also declared their independence because they were too far away.
Oh, alright. So, I guess what I'm asking is, did anything happen to them? What was the relationship between them?
Oh no, it went terrible. There were mass migrations, about 2 million people died in the resulting riots. And now the countries are bitter enemies who are constantly threatening to fire nukes at each other.
With all that being said, it's pretty easy to understand why this is definitely important. And the funny thing, the twist is that India and Pakistan, because of this history that Chase just laid down for us, they really don't engage with each other when it comes to cricket. sure, Team USA is playing the two of them, but they're not playing each other directly, to our knowledge, because of those tensions, which is why they rarely ever do it. Team USA, which is the United States team, which is mostly made up of people from India, Pakistan, the Caribbean, South Africa, funnily enough, they have just won against Pakistan in a major win on Thursday.
Yay.
But here's the downside. They did lose against India just yesterday. Because bear in mind, their first win against Pakistan happened last week. And the thing I've learned about cricket since then is that a lot of these matches can last for a decent amount of time. You know, they're very lengthy. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's almost like golf. It's similar to golf. But it's like you're consistently on the green and you're constantly having to get it in the hole. But not the hole, but it's...
So, cricket is golf, but not boring.
No, it's not. Golf is not boring.
Yes, it is. Golf is boring.
Golf is not boring.
Yes, it is.
It's a state of mind.
Oh my god.
Sure, would I watch a golf game? No, but, you know, I'm sure it's a state of mind.
Yeah, golf is boring.
I'm sure it's a very engaging game.
No, it's not.
Anyways, the point of all this is that it's going to gain popularity. That's the hope. And hopefully this brings more eyes to it, like anything. You know, you have basketball, soccer. Soccer is a really big one because it's the international sport that everyone knows.
Toe wrestling.
What? What did you just say?
Toe wrestling.
Toe wrestling.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to backtrack. What do you mean toe wrestling?
Toe wrestling. It's a sport. So you take these toes, right? And you lock your toes together, kind of like arm wrestling, and you have to pin your opponent's toe to the ground.
I don't think toe wrestling is real, is it?
Yeah, it is. Look it up. It's real.
Fine. Let me look this up because if this is
no, it's real.
If this is legitimate, I'm going to have a moment. Toe wrestling. This is what is gonna what? Toe wrestling. Alright, the sport... Oh, here we go. Wikipedia, Chase.
Yep.
See, this is the things you will learn on the Blake and Chase show. Toe wrestling is a sport involving two opponents who lock toes and attempt to pin each other down and use each other's feet down. Similar to arm wrestling. The sport was invented in 1976 in Staffordshire, United Kingdom. Why does it not surprise me that this came from Europe? By 4 drinkers in the old Royal Park Inn. So you mean to tell me that you could have had 4 drunk guys that were just, you know, as giddy as could be. And they're like, you know what? Wouldn't it be crazy if we just like started going at it with our feet, guys?
Yep. An Englishman, a Welshman, and a Scotsman all walked into a bar and invented toe wrestling.
The World Toe Wrestling Championship was held annually since 1994 in Derbyshire, England. The most prolific player is Alan Nasty Nash. I mean, yeah, it is nasty. Toes, fungus, come on, man. They better have some hygienic rules in place.
Oh yeah.
A multiple-time champion, Lisa Twinkle Toes is a previous women's world champion.
Oh no.
As of 2022, the current men's world champion is Ben Woodruff. The women's champion is Dawn Millward, beating newcomer Rebecca Benson, who came second, and the junior champion is Dolly Millward. Wait, there's more.
Oh no.
Toe wrestling is similar to arm wrestling. To play, players must take off their shoes and socks as the game is played with bare feet. Players must link toes and each player's foot must touch flat on the other person's 2 out of 3 rounds. Rounds are... okay. Well, apparently that is real, but what does that even look like? I need to see... Hold on, what is toe... Oh my god. Oh my... Jesus.
Oh no.
That is disgusting. Lord have mercy. Well, this turned into a serious conversation about the history of cricket, and now it's
toe wrestling.
Yeah, this is becoming a weird episode, real quick. It probably. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I need to stop looking at this. This is getting weird, bro.
Yeah, lads. Let's don't do that.
Now, Chase.
Yeah.
As you know, we got to talk about the movies. You know what I mean?
movies?
Now, movies, I'm gonna admit, I've been a little dry, just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But, Inside Out 2 is gonna come out on the 16th.
Well, that sounds good.
But, here's the thing. Bad Boys has come out. Bad Boys, what's it called? Ride or Die?
Oh my god. See, I don't get it. This is the fourth Bad Boys movie. They should have called the third one Bad Boys Ride or Die, then call the fourth one Bad Boys 4 Life.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't make sense, because you think they'll switch? No, they can't do that.
Yeah, they can't do that anymore. It's permanent.
Well, with that being said,
That's a real slap in the face.
I remember seeing a advertisement for Bad Boys for Life, and I didn't know what Bad Boys was. Or at the time I didn't know. I hadn't seen the first two films yet. I remember seeing it and thinking that it was like a commercial that they just happened to be in. Like, I don't know what I thought. Like, it was like one of those and it might have been. I'm not sure, but I had no idea for a long time. Anyways, the conversation that we're gonna have here. It's really interesting. But first, let me tell you how much money this movie has made. So, Will Smith's latest film, along with co-star Martin Lawrence, has been a huge success so far, and this comes from Variety. Sony's Bad Boys Ride or Die, the fourth entry in the Will Smith and Martin Lawrence-led Buddy Cop series, started strong with $56 million from 3,885 theaters in its domestic debut. The film also opened at the international box office with $48.6 million, bringing its worldwide tally to $104.6 million.
Oh, wow. Wow, that really made a good slapping at the box office.
I know where you're going with this, and Chase, we're gonna be mature about this, okay? You are not allowed.
Of course, I'm sorry, but the whole title thing, that's a real slap in the face.
Chase, I'm going to ask you to be respectful. We're gonna approach this with the utmost decency and the maturity that we can muster on these airwaves, please.
I'm like Will Smith.
Listen, Chase, my co-host, has now introduced the main topic of interest. This is excellent news for him. Obviously, this movie has made as much money as it has, but the success suggests that the public has more or less moved on from Will Smith's incident at the Oscars.
I mean, clearly he learned absolutely nothing from living with his auntie and uncle in Bel Air. It's the exact kind of stuff that got him into trouble in the first place. He got in one little fight.
Chase, even if what Will did was wrong, he took a hiatus, he came back, and now the result is this. But here's the thing. This is the really big money question I want to pose to you and our audience as well. How outraged were people, really? Like, how... Like, you know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. I do not think... I think that some people were legitimately shocked over what he did, because usually you don't really slap a comedian for telling a joke, aka doing his job on national TV. So, of course, some people are going to be upset about that.
Well, yeah, understandable.
And also, but I think most people just want the memes. Most people actually just thought the whole spectacle was funny.
See, when it first happened, I saw it as a... Well, that happened.
It was a mean gold mine.
You know what I mean? Like, I just... No, because obviously it was very upsetting, disappointing. That's the proper word we should probably use. Disappointing to see that that this happened to him, that he did this, this went out of control for him, that everyone was talking about his career's gonna be over and all this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So obviously, you couldn't help but feel a little sorry for the guy. I wasn't sure what was going on.
I don't feel sorry for him.
Well, okay, yeah, all right, fine. My point is that I didn't approach it as the sort of thing where I would never see a Will Smith movie again.
Oh, of course not.
Because I wasn't invested in to the point where I felt a certain way, or like I was never gonna see his movie. Like, if, for example, Emancipation, right? Supposedly when that debuted on Apple TV, like, I know that our family watched it, but, a lot of people didn't, because it was still in the air of that incident.
Yeah.
But a lot of time has passed, and now he's had some time to recover, which I think is good. Shows people can't come back.
Living with his metaphorical auntie and uncle in Bel Air.
But this is, in all seriousness, though, I do feel like the incident with John Cena at this year's Oscars was a bit more problematic. I I do, in all seriousness, it does beg the question of whether these kinds of issues get overblown online. Like, obviously, I'm not saying that his actions didn't have serious repercussions, but just on how the general public felt about it.
Well, I actually disagree. I think the general public just want the memes. I think the general public didn't really care. They weren't outraged, but they just thought it was funny and abnormal because this kind of stuff has never really happened before, at least in living memory.
Yes, because it's the Oscars themselves that year. Because we already know the Oscars viewership has never really been.
Yeah.
It's been going down for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been really going down.
So when that happened, that was the one thing everyone was talking about, the Oscars, and in some ways, I guess the wrong thing.
Yeah, to distract from all the bad jokes.
Yeah, I remember that night. Weird night. You ever think that when something happens, okay, it can be big or small, I feel like the nature of the internet causes some things to just get, it just goes over, where for me, the average person, it was sort of like, oh, okay. And then you do wonder, what is the difference between people that are, online and people that aren't online, that saw the Oscars and was, what did they think? We don't know. I'm not sure what to make of those incidents.
They saw the memes and they thought the whole situation was funny.
Because I didn't think it was funny. I didn't.
I think it's hilarious.
Of course, you thought it was hilarious. That doesn't surprise me. I think you should take a joke out of things so you can get them, but seriously, dude. Now, obviously, he made a mistake. The truth is he made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, and I think for that reason, I didn't see it as being super egregious, but...
Course, if any of us peasants did so, we'd probably go to jail.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to know what our audience thinks. Do you think that things of this nature, was it ever a big deal to begin with? Did he ever... Because they keep saying, Will Smith's making a comeback. That's what all the news articles are saying. But was he ever really gone? Like, was this as big as we all thought it was? Or was it just the hype of the moment, in a sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there probably was an element of that.
Like, was it all a fabrication? I'm not sure. I want to know what our audience thinks. You can let us know in the comments down below. Chase, what are your thoughts on AI art?
I think that AI art is deplorable. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot casualty too. I'm not saying you can't casually go onto an AI website like Dolly 2 or something and casually make some AI photos. Nothing wrong with that. But when you make these AI photos, submit them in a contest, pass them on as your own when they were really made by some robot. First of all, that's objectively immoral, and it's also disrespectful to the actual artists who didn't use AI to make their photos. So I understand why artists are concerned about this, because they are being replaced by lazy bums who are just using AI to do their work for them.
Wait, lazy bums?
Yes. And it's also going to...
That's rather opinionated to call them lazy bums, Chase.
Because they are. What else would you call them?
Well, I mean, there are people that are just genuinely curious about what these things can do.
Yeah, but you shouldn't submit them into actual contest.
Well, no. Just for context of what we're even talking about here, there's a big story that's been going around in the AI art world. It's funny that we're even saying that now. The art world, let's say. They had an AI contest which was hosted at the 1839 Awards Color Photography Contest. And there was this photographer named Miles Astre who submitted an actual legitimate photo to an AI contest, and it won third place. And that's why everyone's talking about it, because it is a legitimate image which nobody thought was real. And now, how would that even work? Surely people can tell the difference between a real and a fake, right? Well, it's one of those things when you take a once-in-a-lifetime picture and it doesn't make any sense at all. So he took a picture of a flamingo, right? And he was able to get it in such a way that the flamingo's head, because those heads, the necks, I should say, are very flexible. So the picture looks like a flamingo, but it has no head. But in reality, the flamingo's head and neck is simply just crouched behind his body. So you would have no way of knowing. It's sort of an optical illusion that he was able to capture. So it's feathery, headless, and it looks a bit like a loaf of bread. You might find the image online.
So let me get this straight. This guy submitted a bad painting into.
Oh no, it's a photo he took.
A photo he took, but
yeah, he was in Aruba.
Don't forget about the dispatched head.
Well, no, seriously, like the flamingo does not have a head. Like, I don't know how to describe this to you.
Wait, you took a picture of a headless flamingo?
Well, no.
Nearly headless?
No, how can it be nearly? No. Let me show you. No, let me show you. Fake AI flamingo. It's gonna show up. No, you misunderstand me completely.
Oh wow.
Here we go. This is the image right here. You see what I'm talking about? This looks yeah, I see you see what I'm saying? This won third place in an AI art contest, yet the photo's 100% legit.
Wow. That just goes to show that, first of all, anything AI can do, humans can do better.
Well, that's kind of the ironic thing, and he even has some quotes, and this comes from CNN, right? He said, to see it get shortlisted by the jury was a surprise, in that it's always a bit of a lottery in such a big contest. There are so many excellent pictures competing. He told CNN this over email. After he got shortlisted, I thought I might really have a shot and started campaigning for people's votes, but I had absolutely no idea how far or close I was to winning until the announcement. So he had absolutely no idea. And then further he says, I entered this actual photo in the AI category of the 1839 awards to prove that human-made content has not lost its relevance, that Mother Nature and her human interpreters can still beat the machine, and that creativity and emotion are more than a string of digits. There were ethical concerns, of course, so I was hoping that the jury and the audience would find that this jab at AI and its ethical implications outweighs the ethical implications of deceiving the viewer, which of course is ironic because that is what AI does. So I
think that what this guy did is morally commendable. The picture itself is honestly pretty bad.
Well, no, I think it's not so much the picture, it's really what the picture represents.
Right, and right, now I'm talking about, it's morally commendable what he did to take a jab at AI art, which I think is something that's a legitimate problem that we really need to deal with, because who knows, we got lazy bums submitting AI art into contests. We have lazy bums using AI art for book illustrations. It's getting insane. I think we really got to do something about it. So shout out.
This is what I'm gonna say. All right, I don't think it's being lazy, and I'm gonna finish off some of the other things that were said about the story before I really jump into this with you. So obviously he was disqualified from the competition. But the director of the Creative Resource Collective, Lily Furman, explaining in a statement to CNN, saying that each category has a distinct criteria that entrance images must meet. We don't want to prevent other artists from their shot at winning in the AI category.
Wait a minute, Blake. Why does the AI category even exist? Because if you're submitting AI art, first of all, it's not yours, and it's debatable, and whenever it's art at all is debatable.
Well, see, that's really the big thing here. I kind of want to go down with
and also, there should not be an AI art category, because that's way too simple. It's way too easy. Any lazy bum with an internet connection, action, and a few tokens can log in a Dolly 2 and make an AI picture of an elephant shooting lasers out of its eyes, and submit it into one of these AI art contests and win. These aren't really contests because it requires little to no effort, unlike real art contests where you actually have to put some kind of effort into it.
Well, that's also a little.
It's cheap AI.
That's a little iffy too, because you can literally splatter a banana on paper, and then that might be considered modern art in some places. I'm not saying I agree with it.
Yeah, of course. Now, modern art itself. Now, here's the thing. I think that AI art is the logical conclusion of a society essentially degenerating art. Because I feel like art in our society has majorly degenerated. First of all, we have no standards. Now everyone likes to say that art is subjective and yeah, but everyone needs to know this. If you remove all standards, you get a worse product. Let's say you have a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you make a car, and to make a car you have to acquire stuff. However, you have no standards for how tires are supposed to be, for how the engine is supposed also work, because we don't really expect it to work, and we have no standards for it to work, and then the car breaks down because we had no standards when building it. That's the logical conclusion of modern art. There are no standards now. Like you said, someone could splatter a banana on a piece of paper and call it art. No, that is not art.
I partially agree with you. I'm of the mindset that I feel like things such as humor, no, I'll take that. Just the things that we say are subjective. While I think there's still a case for it, I do think that there are universal things where we will appreciate the amount of effort someone put into something, even if we don't fully understand it. We can still see that and recognize that, you know. And
there is a definition of art.
What would you say that is?
Art is a representation of beauty.
Well, I mean, according to Google, it says that art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power.
I get it, but still, Blake, that definition is way too broad, and this one...
Wasn't it being broad what makes it art?
No, not everything has to be broad. And I think that's a big problem. Not everything needs to be broad. Some things can exist is without accepting everything. So what I mean was, art is a representation of beauty.
He says this too, just to your point. I was not actively looking for a picture that would work for this stunt. This is the guy we were talking about, Mike. Astor, I should say. He explained to CNN, rather the idea had been roaming in some remote corner of my mind, more subconsciously than I think, and when I saw this picture, it surfaced. It is simply the perfect shot for this because the scene is so unreal, and for such a simple, natural reason, a flamingo scratching its belly. Just a simple, ordinary thing a flamingo would do at any point.
I didn't know they could scratch their bellies.
Don't scratch your belly on a microphone. It's rude.
Oh, okay.
So, you see what I'm trying to get at here. But this is bigger than this flamingo here. This covers a wide range of topics from how we use AI, mostly for our expression, right? Music is a big one for me because I'm a big music guy, right? You already know this. What do you mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you're not. I mean, you've got a few people like.
Please stop singing about big juicy onions every time we go to the farmers market or Costco.
I don't sing about onions.
I don't know, big juicy onions or something.
Oh, you mean
don't sing it.
We Have No Bananas by Louis Prima.
Yeah, yes, we have no bananas, and that's why we're going to the store to get bananas. We don't need you to sing about it.
It's a good song. God. Everyone eats when they come to my house. Cap Calloway. You know, I'm going to use that as a segue. You forced my hand. Speaking of Cap Calloway, I was going on this AI music website. It was called Udio. And it's a platform where you can sign in and you can just give it prompts and you can make AI songs at the press of a button.
Down the rabbit hole of Blake and Friends.
So I was just looking at all the different songs people have made, and I had really been avoiding these services for a while because in my mind, no, that's not music. I'm just looking around to see what I could see, and I come across one song, which is like a 1930s type thing, and it sounds just like Cab Calloway, and I've heard his voice before, so I can recognize it. He's got a whole catchphrase, like the Heidi-Ho thing, like the mooch, like he's got things that are associated with him in pop culture generally, if you really look. And when I heard it, I was like, man, it sounded eerily similar, and I'm like, well, what? I was at a loss because I wasn't sure what to do, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, AI is so perfect for this kind of thing because it's already kind of scraggly as it is and things of that nature. It's just I'm at a loss because the more this advances and the more people, I don't want to bar people from doing what they see fit, right? I want people to make their own choices and to engage AI as anything else we've done before with the internet or anything like that. At the same time, at the same time, for me, and this is the big question I want to pose to everyone here who's listening, if AI were to build up the bulk or started to make itself more prevalent in music, in art, in movies, and whatever, would we even feel comfortable engaging with these mediums at all? Would we even want to, knowing that it wasn't done by us? You know what I mean? I don't know how I would honestly feel if an old show was brought back and it was all AI. It could look realistic enough, and you have the AI voice actors and all those things. Chase, let me ask you real quick. Would you even feel comfortable? Would you just, I think after a point, when does someone just say, I'm just not going to engage?
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't feel comfortable, but would the general public feel comfortable with watching an AI version of something? Well, I think that for the general public, that would be a resounding yes. They would feel comfortable.
Why is that?
I feel like they would feel comfortable with that is because they would think, what does it matter? It's just a TV show. It's not real, so what does it matter that they're not real actors? It's not real anyway.
Well, that's I guess a hypothetical question or that someone would pose. My answer to that would be, because of the fact that the actors are real people with different, like, let's say Sanford and Son, right, with Red Fox and
Right.
D-Mon Wilson, like, we love that show. If they ever do an AI Sanford and Son, I would not subscribe to it because
Of course not. That would be evil.
Red Fox is been a very important actor. If they were to what's another?
Anyone who does that is a very big dummy.
If they if they were to try to redo Star Wars with AI actors, I wouldn't want to see that because I love Harrison Ford. I wouldn't want to see AI Harrison Ford. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't subscribe to it.
Yeah, that'd be evil.
Now, it's one thing if they were doing the deepfakes, and Star Wars has done deepfakes for their characters, but the original actors were involved in that process for the voices and things of that nature. But outside of that...
it looks really creepy.
Well, that's a separate discussion.
Luke Skywalker.
Outside of that, I just don't know if I want to even look at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think that, in general, AI art is going to make the world an uglier, faker, beautyless, meaningless place.
I'll say this. Now, there are probably going to be subsidiaries of people that will use AI positively to get influences from or be inspired by. You know what I mean? I think that if you do have artists out there and creative people, then I agree with it.
I don't really think that... The world is infinitely more inspiring than a robot could ever be. Ever be, Blake?
I mean, I guess it is easier for a robot to act like a robot than it is for it to do what a human does.
All of human history prior to November 30th of 2022, that's what people did. They would go out into the world and get inspired to make art. Real good art, at least.
I'm going to give you another caveat here. This goes into animation, right? Now, ChatGPT's company, we all know, OpenAI, they've come out with Sora, and it's an AI model that's very prompt-based, which can generate video. There's been a few competitors which have shown up, like Luma AI is one that everyone's talking about. It's called Luma Dream Machine. And everyone's talking about that one because it's sort of a free alternative because Sora isn't available to the public right now.
Oh, okay, but I heard about that. And this really irks me.
Why?
This irks me and almost on a nearly personal level.
Why is that?
Because I'm a huge Disney fan.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Disney fan. I starred as Aladdin in my play.
Yeah.
I love Disney movies, and I just love animation.
Mm-hmm, of course.
I know that a lot of work went into making these films. Like Snow White. Snow White was the first animated film ever made.
Yeah.
And when you look at that at film, that movie is timeless, despite the fact that it's 90 years old. It doesn't look dated at all. Everything in the movie aged well. Nothing's dated. It
Well, no, I'll disagree. It is dated, but I think it's the kind of it's dated, but it's timeless. It's still very much dated, but I think that showing your age isn't a bad thing because if you think about it, one of the most successful indie games, Cuphead, was styled after old 1930s animation, and that was a great game from what I've
But
heard.
that's not really what I'm saying here, Blake. So when you have these AI art that any dumb loser can.
That's terrible, Chase. I mean, if I were
But
to.
that's what they are. That's just what they are.
Well, no, I think people are really interested in this though.
I know they are, so they can find an easier, cheaper way to make fake art.
Yes, on the surface, that's probably what it would look like to some people, but for other people, they may just be trying stuff out. They may be trying to see what's going on to see if they can do something with it.
That by no people are going to use this and try to commercialize this. People are going to make AI generated animated movies.
Okay.
Movies. A bunch of loser directors are going to start typing in prompts in the store like, hey, generate this picture of a lion dancing on a art wheel on a trapeze or something. And then it's going to generate that. No effort was put into that.
Now, the one thing that is going to make or break it for me when it comes to animation with AI is what is the level of detail you can achieve with it. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, this kind of goes into a conversation which people already have, traditional animation versus digital. You can do a lot with digital that you couldn't do with traditionally. Traditional animation took a lot of time. Like you said before, it was very time consuming. You had to draw each individual frame by frame, different characters, things of that nature. All the sets and stuff, I'm aware of it. A lot of those things would be painted. And you would get a very good product as a result. Like, for example, Studio Ghibli. They make excellent animated films. I don't need to talk about that if you're in that lane.
There was one 3D film they made.
What 3D film?
They made 3D film once.
A Studio Ghibli?
Yeah.
Well, what was it called?
I don't remember.
Oh, no. Well, I wouldn't know. I've only seen maybe, two of their films. Well, no, I saw a third one. Third one's like a war film or something that a friend recommended to me.
Please stop.
Anyways, it was called Porco Rosso. It was about a flying pig during World War I. And that was my first introduction to them. I thought it was a crazy movie, not because of the story. The story was great. But the level of detail I could see with the way they had drawn it was so impressive. And then later you realize they had to draw that by hand and just the level of detail and the amount of expression they were able to put into it.
But it's not just that, Blake, when it comes to traditional animation. When you compare digital animation to the traditional animation, I think what draws me to the traditional house, it just looks better.
Well, I think that lends itself, I think, to creative freedom, too.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I think that traditional animation objectively looks better than CG does.
I think I guess the reason for what we're talking about, right? Like digital, like we're on a computer.
Right. I do know what digital is, but I think 2D just looks better.
Like, for example, we were to talk about Arthur. Arthur is a cartoon which me and you both.
And it always ages.
It does.
Digital animation always ages. I mean, look at films like Frozen. That animation looks terrible now. Well, not exactly terrible, but it doesn't look as good compared to Frozen 2. Even Inside Out, for example, which is a really good film, but if you look at the animation compared to Inside Out 2 that actually came out today, the animation looks so much better in the sequel, and the original film just looks terrible now in comparison.
Right.
So it always seems like an ability to one-up itself when it comes to the 2D animation. The 3D animation, you don't really see that with 2D. It doesn't feel like you just have to one-up itself because the technology is changing. It really feels like it's evolving because Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, like those two films, for example, Sleeping Beauty looks better because it came came out more recently and technology advanced at the time between 1959 and 1937. However, it doesn't look terrible in comparison. It only looks like it just got better, but it doesn't make the original older films look worse. But so digital animation always ages, but traditional ones last forever, and I think that's true in these films, especially more related to Disney and much more in the animation, the writing, and so much more.
That's a good insight that I wouldn't consider. Because Arthur, for example, right? We watched Arthur on PBS. Both me and you grew up the show. The 2D stuff, the traditionally animated stuff, I could always tell a difference, you know.
Okay.
And at first, when you're smaller, you don't think of it initially because it's like, oh,
And also
the
show
modern
changed.
version, yeah.
Also, the show changed around season 16 because before it was traditional animation, but then they still did the 2D stuff, but it was Flash.
What Flash animation? Wait, what's that? Real quick.
I don't know, but it's a different animation style.
Like Flash animation, I've heard of it. I swear. I feel like old.
That's actually what happened to Thomas. It switched from CG to Flash animation.
Real quick, let me look this up real quick. Oh wait, it's like. Oh, I know what you're talking about. So it's like modern Oh, okay, so it's just digital. Okay, so it's not anything crazy. I noticed the difference. I'll say, because I would notice that the original Arthur shows that were traditionally animated, I would always know that they always look a little smoother. You know what I mean?
Of course they did.
Versus the Flash stuff, the modern stuff, I thought looked very vibrant. I thought it was great. But I always would notice in the back of my head that the characters would look a little stiffer. You know what I mean? They'd always look like they weren't moving as naturally as they did originally.
And it looked way too bright.
That too, which, you know, is different. Whereas the original looked like it was painted, it was drawn, so the composition of colors
looked more real.
Looked a little bit more...
And it looked way more realistic too, because...
Well, realistic for a cartoon anyway.
I know that, but it feels less like a cartoon, and it's not like Disney where it feels like we have these cartoon characters on these really realistic backgrounds. It really feels like it's more of a cartoony world, but it still feels it was real. It doesn't really feel flashy or overdone like the modern stuff does.
Okay, that's good to talk about. I would have never have considered what you were saying, because that makes sense. I would not really notice if they were to redo Snow White, because the reason why they wouldn't do it now, like, let me tell you something. So Donald Duck's anniversary came out. They did a short for it where Donald was having this escapade trying to fix patches in his roof, and there's a Looney Tunes movie coming out called The Day the Earth Blew Up. So two 2D animated projects that are coming out not long ago.
But also, like, I've noticed something in the 2D stuff that Disney does now. There's something wrong, because even when you look at the more recent 2D stuff, like from the Disney Renaissance, or even some of the 2000s things they did, like The Princess and the Frog, something has been lost between now, because the 2D animation just looks really cheaper. It looks like something that you see in a TV show.
Well, to that, this is what I'll say. I don't know what the methodology, how they're doing it. I don't know how they're doing it now. That's the thing. Because if you really think about it, all of these animation styles are really dependent on who's leading the art direction for those illustrations. You know what I mean? Right. Like, for example, Studio Ghibli, a lot of that was Miyazaki, I'm pretty sure. He was very big on some of the art direction for some of those films. You know, that's why they have a stylist. Well, I mean, it's a big conversational point here because it controls a wide majority of the animation, so it'd be weird not to talk about it. Not to mention, and this is a big thing that goes to the point you were making, it takes a long time to make these movies, especially in Japan where they're underworked. It's like a sweatshop. Overworked, I should say. It's a sweatshop. The pay isn't always as... It's a crazy business over there. It's a nightmare in some instances. So I can understand taking shortcuts, even over here, to make a 2D animated film, because it takes a lot more effort. It's like stop motion on a very large scale.
And even CG animation takes a very long time.
It still does, of course. I'm not, discrediting that. But I think that because you do have that level of effort put into it, you always get a better product because of it. And until AI can reach that point, I'm not going to be sold on it. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Well, here's the thing. Even if AI does reach that point, I'm never going to be sold at it. Because at the end of the day, it's still AI.
That is true,
It's
too.
not real. These things were made by algorithms of ones and zeros trying to create something artificial and materialistic and has no beauty or soul or intrinsic value to it whatsoever.
I think this is one of those things where, you know, Pandora's box, right? Or just any, I don't know, MacGuffin object, anything you can think of where you give humans the choice. Here's a really easy option to do what you need to do. We as humans want to be successful, right? We want to go after things and we want to do it in the quickest and easiest way possible, and that is okay. That's fine.
Well, maybe not in the quickest and easiest way possible. Maybe because maybe whenever you want to do it in the quickest and easy way possible, I think that's dependent on the culture. And we live in a culture that seeks to do things the quickest and easiest way possible. But that's probably why people are so unhappy, because humans naturally want to do things, because if you do it in the quickest and easiest way possible,
There's no challenge.
Then you look back and it's like, what did I do? Take my theater class, for example. It was the hardest thing that I ever did, but it was incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, because you had to practice for 10 months. You had to go to that class every
Tech
Monday.
week.
Yeah, exactly. But that was rewarding for you because you got to see what you could do, right?
Yes, and also I did this amazing project with all my friends.
So you felt a sense of reward with that. You know, you did something with that and you got it out there. And you're saying with AI, you might lose people with those talents and there might not be as big a challenge to make those things.
Right, and look what happened with Disney. I legitimately think that this AI thing comes out of control. Well, in the future, we might not have any people who even want to make real art anymore. We might actually lose the ability to make real art as a species.
Over time. I mean, not immediately.
Over time.
I think that we're at a standstill and we should leave it to our audience to judge how all this shakes out.
All right, peasants, you decide.
You can't call them that. That's rude.
I can't. I'm the king.
No, you're not the king.
Yeah, we are. We're aristocrats. We're the Blake and Chase show. Whose name's on the podcast?
All right. Well, my name is Blake Alexander,
and my name is King Chase Carter.
And this is the Blake and Chase show. We hope you enjoyed this wild episode. I'm threatening to call this episode "That One with the Toes in It" because of what happened earlier. That is, I'm thinking about it. I'm honestly thinking about it.
Okay, so I'm gonna end off with this. Have a good one, guys, and so long, peasants.
He's gonna insist on doing that. I apologize. All right, we will see you next time.
This is the Blake and Chase Show, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, Castbox, and Odyssey.
Follow and share our show if you enjoyed this episode. And for our YouTube members, subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. This has been the Blake and Chase Show. My name is Blake Alexander.
And my name is Chase Carter.
Thanks for listening.
Back to life, back to reality, back to life, back to reality. Now this is the story all about how I slapped Christmas. Oh, this is the story.